Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about this one thing that you can do to actually improve your mental health and decrease stress. And it's something that I certainly have experienced very recently. And so some of you who know me, I'm going RV full time. I'm a weekend and it's going great. But if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Lori Marbus. I'm a board certified family and lifestyle medicine physician who practices seeing patients across the country as I'm licensed in all 50 states. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about the science about possessions and clutter and how it really can affect your mental health, and just kind of my own experience, how I've really enjoyed releasing things and learning how to focus on things that really mean a lot to me. And so let me just pull up my notes here because I have some interesting the research about specific things. First of all, as many of you know, like I'm just embarking on this full-time RV living, and it really has not only brought us closer, for example, to nature, and there's new adventures coming in our future, but it really has impacted, I feel like, my mental health. When we released our home that's 200 square feet and all the things that go with it and maintenance and such, that is a huge stress relief. Granted, living in an RV will have its own challenges, like dealing with sewer lines and different things and doing your laundry in a laundromat. But those are minor. I'm not so worried about that. I feel like it's much less than having a home, having owned homes for well over 30 years now. So let's just talk a little bit about the psychological benefits of minimalism, right? So I certainly know many of you have maybe even seen the documentary and some other things. Minimalism is basically releasing things that you don't need in your life, right? And just focusing on those bare essentials so you can get about, doing the things that you really enjoy. Now, part of RV life is having a few more extra flies. So if you see one fly by, just ignore it. I might jerk, but it's my friend, the fly. Anyway, so when you think about living with fewer possessions, you really can have profound psychological benefits. So research has shown that a cluttered environment can contribute to feelings of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, right? By contrast, a minimalist lifestyle promotes mental clarity. It really reduces stress and really enhances your overall well-being. So let's talk about reducing stress, right? So number one, clutter and stress. Study has found that there's a direct correlation between clutter and increased stress levels. And there was a study published in this really interesting little journal called the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin, and it reported that individuals with cluttered homes exhibited higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Now, of course, this isn't a cause and effect necessarily, but I think it just speaks to it's one of the key factors. And I certainly know that whenever I worked in a cluttered environment, I didn't feel as clear, and I always was thinking about the different things around my environment. Whereas when I have a clean working environment, I do much better. I very much more able to go into flow and just really focus on what my task is at hand. Also clutter just kind of creates that visual reminder of responsibilities, right? Leading to feelings of that anxiety and just kind of the reduced ability to relax. How many of us felt so good after cleaning our homes, right? You just then you feel like you can finally relax. I know I've certainly done that. I know that whenever we would go on vacations, for example, I would always want to clean the house before I left because I didn't want to walk into, coming home from vacation. You sometimes need a vacation from the vacation. Basically walk into a cluttered or unclean environment. So I always prepped that for myself. It was kind of like, I'm walking into home less stressed. So anyway, just some things there. And when you think about minimalism and stress reduction, just by reducing your possessions really just creates that calm and orderly environment. And I know that when we've moved multiple times, we've lived in 9 or 10 different states at this point. And whenever we moved, we would reduce our possessions, donations, or selling them. And we just always felt better. And living in the RV really makes it necessary to be minimalistic, right? Because we have limited space, right? So we're kind of living by the mantra now, if there's no space, if it doesn't have a place, it doesn't belong in our space, right? So when we live by that, we're being very thoughtful, even about a toothbrush or a toothbrush holder, or, do we really need this extra shirt, or do we need this extra dish? I mean, we're thinking about everything even like garbage bags or different things. Like, we are thinking about everything. How much food do we need to live? What food should we be putting in our little freezer and refrigerator space? So it really does get you down to really thinking very thoughtfully and being mindful of the possessions that you're buying. There's no Amazon delivery to middle of nowhere. And, I can't just order DoorDash for any food. And it's just really making us be very, very thoughtful and mindful, which is such a huge piece of my journey of my overall mental health and well-being is mindfulness. So just remember that clutter-free environment really just helps you focus and maintain mental clarity. And it allows you to be more efficient, right? There was an interesting research in the Journal of Environmental Psychology, and it suggested that individuals who lived in organized spaces experience much more cognitive function and productivity. So it's not just like, go stuff something in a box. It's like, is there actual organization to the way you're living? For example, we do have limited space here, but I'm already looking at other spaces, something that looks aesthetically pleasing, but how can I increase a little bit of space and functionality? So where can I do to put our phones to charge, right? Or where can I put our backpacks or different things that can also be multifunctional? So in being very, very clear on the space that we have, in what we do put in that space needs to actually have utility. And so thinking about those things, even in your home, can be very, very fruitful and really just put you on a different journey, I think, in your stress reduction. And sometimes people feel like, there's like, are we competing with the Joneses? So, okay, let's say that we pull up into an RV park and there's a big rig next to us that's huge, it's Class A. I just see more stress, right? Because I feel like that's just walking into a bigger home or something like that. And you just can't get around as much. Some people may feel like, oh, I wish I had that. It's like, why? You have what you need, right? Why do you need more? And maybe that's a good question to ask yourself if you're finding that you're constantly looking or comparing. Why are we comparing? Nobody cares what you have, right? You may think that, driving more expensive car or wearing more fancy clothes or more expensive bags, maybe it does. Maybe some people who feel artificially, I don't know, I feel it's less more of a shallow way of living when you look at someone and say, oh, they're wearing a Rolex, they must be worth more, that means I need to be more. They're just using you to make themselves feel better, versus it doesn't mean that you're not clean and orderly and hygienic and wear your clothes nicely or wear nice clothes, but what you do have has meaning and you use them. So, we limit the things that we have. So like this t-shirt is from my favorite restaurant in California, the Vibe Organic Restaurant. If you're ever in Dana Point, or I think they're also in Costa Mesa, great plant-based foods, all organic, fantastic, gluten-free, absolutely wonderful. So I have joy wearing this because I think of all the lovely meals that I had. And so again, it doesn't mean that you can't have those more expensive or nice things, but maybe be very specific about how many of them have. Do you need every essential color? Or that's just my personal opinion, but that's my thoughts, something to think about. I found that I have increased happiness and satisfaction, right? So minimalism just kind of fosters that sense of control and satisfaction, because when the more you have, the less control, the more work it requires to maintain. Just kind of letting go of those unnecessary items just allows me to focus on meaningful possessions, and that can really lead to increased happiness and contentment. And someone asked me a question on Instagram on what are those possessions that I really focused in on that I want to maintain. So we do have some things still in storage that we're going to further reduce. We were just in a kind of a time crunch to get out of the house to put our house on the market. So we will do further. So the things that I'm keeping in storage are going to be like photos of my kids, maybe, certain pictures or paintings that we've collected over the years, but that'll be pretty much it. Maybe some important documents or something. But other than that, there's not going to be a whole lot. The things that we brought into the RV, honestly, just have utilitarian value. I'm bringing some minimal art supplies because I want to get back into more of my painting and drawing, and that will allow me time to do that. But that's also keeping me being very focused on what are those things that I need to create. I don't need every single art supply or every single thing. So when my daughter and I, she was helping me kind of go through stuff as we were getting ready to come pick up the RVs, like, what do I really, really need, right? And so what books do I need? What can I get on Kindle or virtual, like listening to the book or instead using Audible, things like that. Those are the things that we start really thinking about. Do I really need this book in physical form? Yes, it feels good to read a book, but maybe I would be utilizing libraries more often if I really feel that I need to utilize a book, or maybe there's a little book library in the community that we're going to be at. I don't know. Because the way we are going to move forward in living is either spending most likely 30 days in a place at a time, maybe 2 weeks, depending on if it's a state park, because there are some limitations on that. And then that allows us to build somewhat of an interesting community, but we're really being very thoughtful on where we want to go and planning that out so that we can be in the nature that we can explore, and the hiking and the camping, and what type of community that we want to be around. And that's the beautiful thing, is that we can explore the country, which allows us, but I could still do the work that I do. So really, it comes down to simplified lifestyle. I feel like there's increased communication and connection with my husband and those that we will be working with. I have more mindfulness and presence because I'm constantly, when I'm in a store, I'm like, do I really need this? Am I going to utilize it? And I'm sure there are going to be other things that we think we need that we're going to learn that we don't. That's just going to be part of the lessons learned in living this. And everyone's going to be a little bit different on what those are and how much it is, like, how many pairs of underwear do you need? How many pairs of shorts? How many items do we need to keep in case we go to a wedding, or if we go to travel, like we plan on traveling to Europe for 2 weeks next year? I feel like we're going to be in a really good space to carry, when you go on board, that can be stored in the overhead in the plane, just that small suitcase, right, when we go overseas for 2 weeks, because we'll have come to the point that we understand what we need and what we don't need. You simplify your routines. So I have a very simplified makeup routine, a very simplified bathing and routine. You learn how to conserve water and toilet paper. So many lessons. Like, how many spoons and forks do you really need? How many pillows do you need? How many sheets? And all these things that you never think about when you move to a house. But you do when you live in a little tiny RV. You're like, wow, I really don't need as much as I think I do, because 80% of your wardrobe probably goes unused most of the time. And then just thinking about the things that you enjoy. So yes, we'll make space for, like, my husband's biking gear because he loves to bike, and our hiking gear because we love to hike. We're going to have the dog with us, right? So how much do we need for the dog? The dog doesn't need an entire crate of box of toys, which she had before, right? Being very thoughtful on all those things. So I hope this is helpful because, for us, like I said, reducing possessions and transitioning to full-time can really stress maybe some people at the thought of it, but for us, it's been decreasing stress. And I feel like I'm just going to continue to improve our mental health and well-being because, again, it's a small space. It's easy to keep clean. We're fully in tune with everything that's going on in the vehicle, working together to do different things, understanding every, inch and crack of this place. It's easy to do when you're in a small space. There's the joy of travel and, doing that maybe once a month to a new location and just being very thoughtful on where we want to land and spend time. So again, I hope you found this helpful. Please let me know your experiences in decreasing and reducing possessions, and if you have goals, and I hope you found this helpful and inspiring. So, please comment below, share this video with someone maybe that might be encouraged to travel or do this type of same living this lifestyle, or just reducing possessions in their home or apartment or wherever they may be living. And as always, I'm sending gratitude and joy and love to you because I'm so thankful that you spent time with me today. Don't forget to subscribe and please comment, leave questions. I'll be working on the food piece as soon as we land. We'll be hitting Colorado today, and we'll be in our first location for about 3 weeks. And I'll be sharing what I'm doing on, what am I doing hiking? How does Daisy, our dog, how's she doing with the smaller space? She's going to love being in a smaller space with her humans. But I will share all of that and what we're cooking and doing. And, we got to be careful about using an oven because it gets hot in here, or the stove. So again, what are we doing? And I will share all that with you as we go along. And sanitization, what do you need to be careful about? Your water sources, how you're handling waste, what are the best things to do? A lot of those things we've learned already in this first 7-8 days, but I'll share more with you as I go along. So thanks again for everyone for watching, and I will be back tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of the lessons. And of course, just medical education and everything like that as we go along, everything that I've always done before. So appreciate you all. Thank you for spending time, and I will see you next time.